Hi Year 12 and welcome to Summer 2. It's weirdly your last half term of Year 12. So this half term we're going to be moving on to looking at comparing Rossetti and Malfi. You did some work on this over Easter and you uploaded your comparison maths to me. They are all available on the Google Classroom, for which I've sent you all a link, but I will upload them to our Teams as well. So, your essay that you will write next week is this question here. So, female sexuality is both a weapon and a curse. Explore how your chosen texts present gender in the light of this view. So, this essay kind of builds on some of the stuff that you've done about gender in Webster. It builds on some of the stuff that you've done for Miss Green and Miss McConville about Rossetti as well. So, just to start us off, you've got some nice critical quotations here. This PowerPoint's been uploaded. So, got the unease of a female character who so impertinently pursues self-determination. And that's by Kathleen McCluskey, who is a feminist critic. This idea of a character in The Duchess who denies or goes against all kind of societal rules, all kind of expectations, and instead decides to kind of do things her own way. And you can see that in all of her claims about why should I, out of everyone, be cased up like a holy relic. I have a little beauty. She talks about, why should she be left out and wanting to do things her own way. Then here you've got a nice quotation about Rossetti. So Rossetti did not see much difference between the woman who sells herself in marriage, who does not marry for a genuine love, and the woman who has sexual experience before marriage because she is fooled by the promises of human love. Both are guilty of placing the things of earth before God. So I think the ideal here for Rossetti is a marriage that is perhaps based in love and compatible in terms of religion or religious beliefs. I also think that you are looking at this idea of a woman who sells herself in marriage. So, for example, the bride in Maud Clare, or the woman who has sexual experience before marriage. Well, that's Maud Clare, isn't it? So you've got this idea of these two views of women, but I don't necessarily think that Rossetti condemns either. So what I want you to do is to have a look at these two statements and think about how can you argue against them, okay? Because these are nice, clear points where you can find evidence to back it up, okay? But can you find a way of arguing differently? And it's this skill about looking at a critic and taking what they say and thinking, okay, I could interpret that in a different way. That will help you. Okay, so this idea of sexuality, a profound fear of female sexuality and its potential consequences. Do you think Goblin Market is really afraid of sexuality? Or is it something else? Is it something like, it recognises the appeal of sexuality, but also recognises the danger that comes with that within a Victorian society? And then in the moment of disobeying her brothers and remarrying, the Duchess of Malfi asserts her sexual self. In doing so, she is metamorphosed from the mirror of virtue into lascivious whore. Well, we know that Antonio sees her as this mirror of virtue, okay? That he has that whole Petrarchan sonnet. But as we talked about, this is Webster kind of taking the mick as well about the way that Antonio sees the Duchess. That he says this is completely idolised. Do we think she's a lascivious whore? Well, lots of you have talked quite effectively in your last essay about gender, about the virgin whore dichotomy in terms of the presentation of the Duchess. And you talked about the way that Ferdinand sees her as this whore. And actually, I think the skill in the play is that the Duchess sees herself as neither. You've got this kind of middle ground. You consider when looking at this essay, Julia, where does Julia sit? So you've got Goblin Market, and I want you to have a little think about the sexual reading of the poem. What are the goblins? What are the fruit? Okay, Laura and Lizzie, and who and what does Jeannie represent? Okay, can you think of any links to context? You've got all of this language here about tingling cheeks and fingertips. Lie close, pricking up her golden head. We must not look at goblin men. We must not buy their fruits. Think back to year 11 when you did Porphyria's lover, and there's all that talk about her golden hair being laid bare. Why is there that imagery about hair? What does hair mean in terms of Victorian iconography? Okay. What about the soil? You know, who knows upon what soil they fed? This is about the source of lust. Is this godly lust, or is this kind of mankind? And you've got curious Laura in contrast to the kind of the strong and powerful Lizzie, who becomes like a lily in a flood, that Jesus-like figure. Here, he clipped a golden lock. Now, if you haven't looked it up, I want you to go and look up Alexander Pope's The Rape of the Lock, okay? Because this is a direct source poem. She dropped a tear more rare than pearl, then sucked the fruit globes, fair and reds, okay? And this is obvious sexual imagery used here. But you've got this language of kind of fruit and decay and almost kind of excess luxury here. And then if we link it to Malfi, we've got that image again of feeding on things, okay, feeding on others, that imagery of the fruit, and that slightly decaying imagery that's linked in both texts with kind of excess of lust or excess of physical pleasure. So, this is a quotation which is really, really, really useful. You can use it in pretty much any essay, and I want you to think about it in terms of looking at sex and gender. So Webster's satirical tragedy looks beyond individuals to the society that shapes them, Lever. So you can talk about this idea of it shaping their characters. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. This is what Webster's society was concerned with, and here you can see it in the play. So there's some nice theories there, and I would like you to practice writing to support, to engage with, either to support or to go against a critical theory here. And then for you to complete, so I want you to look at the Duchess and all of these characters. How do they feel about sexuality? Where's your key quotation, and what kind of critical or contextual factors can we bring in? All right. And then these ideas here are going to help you write your essay in its entirety next week. So you're thinking about women embrace sexuality as part of their identity, or sexual desire has dangerous consequences. Sexual desire is judged when it is female, expected when it is male. Now that might be an interesting one to think about. Or male sexuality is centered around power and control. And there you might want to think about the cardinal, for example. You know, does the cardinal seem to have actual sexual desire, or is his relationship with Julia based more on kind of what she can do for him, or his expression of his sexual power? Remember, he's a cardinal. He's not meant to be sleeping with women at all. So why does he choose a married woman who has got a bit of a reputation? You know, what is it about her? Okay, I'm going to film an actual video in a second. So I will upload this, and I will touch base with you further this week. Take care, guys. Bye.